We all want to believe that our customers are the happiest, most easygoing, laid-back people that we'll ever meet in our entire lifetime. Somehow in the world of sales, it doesn't always work out that way. Perhaps you've noticed. And what we're going to do is I'm going to break this down into a few different types of challenging customers. We're going to figure out, what do we do with these people? How do we turn them around? We're calling this series High Maintenance Buyers. And in this first episode, we'll talk about the want it all customer. Well, welcome back everyone to a brand new 5-minute sales training in our little mini series called High Maintenance Buyers. And today we're taking on our first challenge, and that's what we call the want it all customer.
Don't care how I want it now.
But first, just a quick word on what I mean by high maintenance buyer. How do we respond when we face the adversity of a challenging customer? And do we consider it an adversity when we deal with somebody who is being a little bit difficult or maybe a little snarky? Maybe they give you a little attitude. But as the great Charlie Plummer once said, adversity is a terrible thing to waste. You see, there are things that we can learn out of that time, out of adversity, that will really help you to be a more well-rounded salesperson. Let me put it another way. If you need just super happy, well-adjusted people to walk through your door in order to get sales, I've got some terrible news for you. You're going to have a very tough and very short career.
I'm not cut out for this sort of work.
So we're going to break these down over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to look at different characteristics of high-maintenance buyers, starting today with the I want it all customer. A person who seems like you owe them something.
All right, but you owe me for this one.
Now, this is that customer who carries just that sense of entitlement, that very, very high expectation of what right looks like into the sales conversation. And they walk through the door with the belief that you're going to hand them the world and they can demand whatever they want. After all, I'm spending X hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've heard it before. So let's break this down a little bit. First of all, I'm going to start with the idea that this is a perception consideration more than anything else. That is, you are perceiving that the customer is acting in an entitled way. You're perceiving that. But if you ask the customer, and if they're being brutally honest with themselves, are they acting entitled? They would say that no, they are not. But that is our perception. And I think it's up to us to be able to challenge our own perception with another question, and that is, am I being fair? Am I being fair? Am I summing this person up correctly?
Wait, did I not get that right?
Now, the reason it's so important is because we have to understand that the entitlement mentality, this is a style issue, not a character issue. It's critical that we understand that there are people who, yes, they're more demanding. That's their style. That's just sort of what they're always known for. They may have grown up with parents like that way, who gave them that sort of education. Or they may have grown up in a culture where they feel more entitled, but to them that's normal. Even though to you it might be somewhat off-putting. But here's the problem. When I see something that is off-putting to me, I tend to put that as a character judgment on the person in front of me. And that's when I make my biggest mistake. I judge the character instead of the behavior. This is not an assault on their character, at least it shouldn't be. This is just their style. So how do we deal with the want-it-all buyer? Well, it starts with respect. And one of the ways that I can show that respect is to make sure that I'm smiling and being respectful even when I'm saying no. And saying no is something you're going to have to learn how to do, politely but firmly. Here's what's interesting. The no is not just for you or for your company policy. That customer needs to know what their limits are. So we're going to have to come along and show them those boundaries. Of course, we want to be respectful as we do that. So you might be saying something like, I totally respect your willingness to ask that question. I understand it. Let me tell you why we will not be doing that. So I'm being respectful. I'm still saying no. Let me tell you why we won't be doing that, why we won't be giving in, why we won't be granting your success. And I use that word won't very specifically. Many people say that we can't do that. And it kind of bugs me. You know why? because you can do that. That irritates the one and all buyer. They know you can, and they'll probably throw that back at you. Well, yes, you can do it.
I could, but I won't.
I think you're better off getting in front of that and saying, let me explain why we won't do that. Because now you've got your very firm statement. We are not going to do it, but here is our rationale. And of course, we're going to do it with a smile on our face. Respect what that person is coming from. Remember, this is not a character trait, it's just a behavioral style. So stay strong, stay positive, explain to them that you respect where they're coming from. But here's why we won't be able to do that. Those entitled buyers can be tough. I'm not going to try and make light of that. But you want to keep your positive edge, outlast them. That's when you have the opportunity to have a true impact on their lives and to change their world. All right, thanks for watching the 5-Minute Sales Training this week. To make sure you get the next episode in this High Maintenance Buyer series, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. When you do that, it'll tell YouTube to make sure to put the next episode right out in front of you. But until next week, learn more to earn more.